Ethan felt his heart race as he held the small silver ring in his hand. He stood in the middle of Varelafor's floating garden, surrounded by glowing blue flowers and soft alien music. The sky above was full of stars, some shining brighter than any he had ever seen on Earth. He took a deep breath and smiled at Rillis, who stood across from him, her bright eyes curious and hopeful. "Rillis," Ethan began, his voice trembling just a little, "will you marry me?" For a moment, Rillis only stared at him. Then her cheeks turned a soft violet color, a sign of happiness for her people. She covered her mouth, surprised, and then laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Of course, Ethan." "Yes," she said. Ethan felt like he could finally relax. Months of worrying were over. He slipped the ring onto Rillis's delicate finger, and she admired it, turning her hand back and forth to watch the metal shine in the alien light. For a few minutes, everything was perfect. But then suddenly, the garden doors opened with a hiss, and Rillis's family entered. Her father, a tall Varellan with dark blue skin, smiled warmly. Her mother, graceful and serious, walked behind him. And then came 3 other women, Rillis's sisters, each with different hair and eyes, each watching Ethan with curious eyes. "Ethan, you must come sit with us," Rillis's mother said, her voice gentle but firm. Ethan nodded, feeling nervous again. He and Rillis sat together as her family formed a circle around them. "We are happy you wish to join our family, Ethan," Rillis's father began. "But as you may know, Virellan law is ancient and must be followed by all." Ethan nodded, remembering the rules he'd studied before coming to Varelafor, but he was not ready for what came next. "To marry our daughter," Rillis's mother continued, "you must also marry her sisters. This is our custom, and it is written in Galactic law for all mixed species unions." Ethan blinked, thinking he must have heard wrong. "Excuse me?" he asked, hoping someone would laugh and say it was a joke. But no one laughed. Rillis looked at him, embarrassed but hopeful. "Ethan, this is true. I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid you might leave." The sisters stepped forward, each introducing herself. Lyra, the eldest, was serious and wore glasses that glowed with data. Solai, the second, was tall and athletic, her uniform marked with medals. Mira, the youngest, wore bright colors and smiled shyly. Ethan's mind raced. He had come to propose to the woman he loved, but now he was being asked to accept 3 more wives, each with her own personality and life. The room fell silent as everyone waited for his answer. Outside, the stars of Varelafor watched in silence, and Ethan wondered just how much his life was about to change. Ethan could not sleep that night. He lay in his small room on Varelafor, staring at the ceiling that slowly changed colors from blue to purple as the hours passed. He kept thinking about Rillis and her sisters. The idea of marrying 4 women at once was so strange that he wondered if he was dreaming. Early in the morning, Rillis knocked on his door. She looked nervous but tried to smile. "Ethan, it's time. Today, you must face the sisterhood test." Ethan sat up, confused. "Sisterhood test?" Rillis nodded. "It's our tradition. If you want to marry me and my sisters, you have to prove that you respect each one and that you are strong, smart, and creative. Each of my sisters will give you a different challenge. If you fail, the marriage cannot happen." Ethan felt his stomach drop, but he tried to act brave. "I'm ready. Let's do it." The first challenge was from Lyra, the eldest. She led Ethan to a bright, clean lab full of strange machines and blinking lights. Lyra looked serious. "Ethan, Varellans respect intelligence. I will ask you a riddle, and you must solve it in 10 minutes." She handed him a puzzle box covered in alien symbols. Ethan stared at the box. He didn't know the symbols, but he noticed patterns in the shapes and colors. He remembered how, on Earth, he would solve puzzles with his little sister. He moved the pieces, listened to the sounds, and just before the time ended, the box clicked open. A small light shone inside, and Lyra nodded with respect. "You are clever," she said. Next was Soleil, the second sister. She wore a silver uniform with sharp edges and medals. She took Ethan to a training hall where Varellan soldiers practiced. "Here," she said, handing him a practice sword, "we respect strength and courage. Fight me, not to win, but to show your heart." Ethan had never used a sword, but he remembered playing games with sticks as a child. Soleil moved quickly, but Ethan dodged, rolled, and tried to keep up. He didn't win, but he never gave up. After a few minutes, Soleil laughed. "You have heart, human. That's good enough for me." Finally, Mira, the youngest, met Ethan in an art room full of colors, paints, and light. She handed him a brush. "I want you to paint something that shows who you are." Ethan thought about his home on Earth, the sky, the stars, and his journey to Varela 4. He painted a simple picture, a small figure under a big bright sky, looking up in hope. Mira smiled, her eyes shining. "You are honest and kind," she said. By the end of the day, Ethan was tired but happy. He had passed the sisterhood test. The sisters gathered with Rillis, and all smiled at him. For the first time, Ethan felt maybe he could belong here, if he could survive whatever came next. Ethan woke up the next day feeling a little proud. He had passed the sisterhood test, and the sisters had finally started to accept him. But he did not know that something much bigger was about to happen. As he stepped out into the garden, Ethan noticed small floating cameras buzzing around the house. A group of alien reporters stood outside the gate, their faces different colors and shapes, each holding a microphone or a recording board. Bright lights flashed as soon as Ethan appeared. "There he is, the human," one reporter shouted. "Ethan, over here," another called, waving a tentacle arm. Rillis rushed to Ethan's side. She seemed embarrassed, but also excited. "News travels fast in the galaxy," she said. "Our marriage is very rare. Human and Virellan unions almost never happen. Everyone wants to know your story." Ethan tried to hide behind Rillis, but it was no use. Reporters fired questions at him. "How does it feel to marry 4 sisters? Is it true you passed the sisterhood test? What does your Earth family think?" The sisters came out one by one, joining Ethan and Rillis. Lyra, the scientist, pushed the cameras away with a small device that made a force field. Soleil, the soldier, stood tall, blocking the pushiest reporters. Mira, the artist, smiled nervously and tried to answer kind questions. Ethan did his best to answer everyone in simple words. "I am just a regular human," he said. "I came here for work, and I found love. I didn't expect all this attention." A Virellan news anchor turned to her camera. "This is history in the making," she said. "Ethan has become a symbol of hope and change. But not everyone is happy. Some Virellans believe our traditions are at risk." Just then, an angry voice shouted from the crowd, "Humans don't belong here." A group of protesters held up signs in alien script. Rillis squeezed Ethan's hand, worried. The sisters gathered around him, forming a protective circle. Inside the house, Rillis's father watched the scene on a screen, frowning. "This is bigger than we thought," he said to his wife. "We must protect them. The galaxy is watching." The news spread far beyond Varela 4. On other planets, people argued on social media. Some said Ethan was brave. Others said he was causing trouble. Even Ethan's old friends on Earth sent him messages, some cheering, some warning him to be careful. Back inside, Ethan sat with the sisters. "I didn't want to cause problems," he said, feeling lost. Rillis put her arm around him. "You didn't do anything wrong. The world changes when people do something new. We just have to be strong together." That night, as the media lights shined outside, Ethan realized his life would never be simple again. But when he looked at Rillis and her sisters, he knew he was not alone. No matter what happened next, they would face it as a family. The next morning, Ethan woke up to find the house even noisier. Outside, More reporters had gathered. Drones flew around, sending live news to hundreds of planets. Inside, Rilis's father paced the hallway, speaking urgently on a hologram call. Suddenly, the family's main screen flickered. An official message appeared with the flag of Earth's United Governments. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. The message was from his own people. A serious woman in a blue suit looked into the camera. "Ethan Carter, we have been informed about your situation. As a citizen of Earth, you must know that marrying into a high-profile Virelan family can cause political trouble for both worlds. You are requested to reconsider this marriage." Ethan stared at the screen, feeling cold. He never thought his personal life could become a political problem. Rilis moved closer to him, her face full of worry. The sisters stood quietly, each showing her concern in her own way. Rilis's father ended his call and faced Ethan. "Ethan, the Galactic Council is also discussing this. Some planets believe humans should not be allowed to join Virelan families. They are afraid of change." Solai clenched her fist. "That's not fair." Ethan passed the sisterhood test. "He belongs with us." Lyra adjusted her glasses. "If the council says no, there could be trouble for our family." Mira looked at Ethan, her eyes full of hope. "What will you do, Ethan?" Ethan felt everyone looking at him. He took a deep breath. "I came here because I loved Rilis. I want to respect your world, your rules. But I can't just walk away because others are afraid." Rilis squeezed his hand. "You don't have to decide alone. We'll face this together." Later that day, the family had a private meeting. Rilis's mother spoke softly. "We must show the council and everyone else that this marriage is about respect and love, not politics. But Ethan, you must be sure. If you stay, your life will never be the same. The pressure will be great." Ethan thought about his family on Earth, his job, and the peaceful life he once knew. But then he looked at Rilis and her sisters, their trust in him, their hope. "I won't leave. I want to prove that humans and Virelans can build a new future together." Outside, protesters' voices grew louder, and reporters shouted more questions. But inside, the family felt united. The sisters promised to stand by Ethan, no matter what. As night fell, Ethan stood on the balcony with Rilis. Far above, the stars of Varela 4 sparkled. "Maybe the universe is testing us," Ethan said. Rilis smiled. "Then we'll pass the test. Together." Ethan felt stronger. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he was ready to fight for love and for his new family. The political tension outside could not stop the family's traditions inside. Rilis's father announced, "It is time for the next step. Ethan, you must begin the challenges set by each sister to truly join our family." Ethan nodded, trying to show confidence even though he was nervous. The first challenge belonged to Lyra, the eldest sister and a respected scientist. She took Ethan to her laboratory, a room full of glowing screens, strange equipment, and walls covered with moving graphs. Lyra faced Ethan with her serious eyes behind shining glasses. "Human intelligence is respected in our society, Ethan. I have created a riddle that even some Virelan scholars cannot solve. If you can answer, it will prove your mind is worthy." She handed Ethan a transparent cube. Inside, shapes and lights floated, shifting whenever Ethan touched the sides. Lyra explained, "The answer is hidden in the patterns. Use your logic. You have 15 minutes." Ethan sat down, feeling everyone's eyes on him. He turned the cube slowly, watching the lights change color and the shapes move. He noticed that when he pressed the blue side, a pattern appeared, a triangle inside a circle. When he touched the red side, the lights flashed in a rhythm. He tried to remember lessons from his own childhood. On Earth, his father had taught him to look for what doesn't change. He stared at the cube, focusing on the sounds. There was a soft humming when the cube was turned a certain way. Each color, each shape, and each sound seemed to be part of a puzzle. Ethan remembered something else. On Earth, some riddles were not about the answer, but about the path to the answer. He decided to work step by step, not rushing, thinking out loud. Blue means start. Triangle inside circle. Red means danger, maybe stop. The family watched, Lyra with a tiny smile. As the minutes passed, Ethan made the shapes line up, first blue, then green, then yellow. The humming sound grew louder, and suddenly, a tiny hologram appeared from the cube, a symbol of peace from Virellan history. Ethan looked up, surprised. Lyra smiled, her face relaxing for the first time. You found it, Ethan. You saw the connections and listened to the clues. Some people try to force the answer. You respected the puzzle. That is the right way. Rillis cheered and hugged Ethan. Even Soleil clapped, and Mira looked at him with new respect. Lyra handed Ethan a small medal with the same peace symbol. This is yours. You have passed my challenge. Ethan felt relief and pride. The first test was over, but he knew 2 more sisters waited with their own trials. Still, for the first time, he believed he truly belonged. That night, as the stars blinked outside, Ethan held the medal and smiled. He had faced a Virellan challenge and won, not with power, but with patience and heart. The journey was just beginning, but he was ready for whatever came next. The morning sun shone brightly over Virelafor as Ethan prepared for his next challenge. After passing Lyra's riddle, he felt more confident, but today's test was very different. This time, he would face Soleil, the warrior sister. Soleil was strong and fierce, known across Virelafor as one of the best fighters. She wore her silver armor, polished and shining, and carried a sleek training sword that hummed softly with energy. Ethan had never held a sword before. Today, you must show your courage and spirit, Soleil said, her voice calm but serious. This duel is not about winning with strength, but proving your heart is brave. Ethan nodded. He felt nervous but ready. They walked to the arena, a large circular space surrounded by high walls and cheering holograms of past warriors. Soleil smiled slightly. Remember, this is practice. No one will get hurt if you don't want. The duel began. Soleil moved fast, her sword flashing through the air. Ethan barely blocked the first few strikes. He stumbled, almost falling, but quickly recovered. He remembered stories of Earth's ancient warriors, knights, samurai, and gladiators. Their strength was not only in muscles, but also in mind and spirit. Ethan moved carefully, dodging and blocking. He couldn't match Soleil's skill, but he used quick thinking. When she lunged, he stepped aside and tried to keep calm. Slowly, he learned her rhythm. After several minutes, the crowd of holograms seemed to cheer louder. Soleil paused, surprised by Ethan's determination. You don't give up, she said. Ethan smiled, breathing hard. I'm not here to win by force. I'm here to show I belong. Soleil lowered her sword. That is enough. You have the heart of a warrior. The arena filled with applause. Ethan felt pride welling inside him. Soleil extended her hand. You passed the duel, human. Ethan shook her hand firmly. Thank you, Soleil. You're a great fighter. Soleil grinned. And you're a brave human. The sisters will be proud. Back in the family home, the sisters gathered around Ethan. Lyra placed her hand on his shoulder. 2 challenges done. 1 to go. Mira smiled softly. I can't wait to see what you do next. Rillis hugged Ethan tightly. We're proud of you. No matter what happens, you're part of us now. That night, Ethan lay awake thinking. The duel was harder than he expected, but he learned something important. Strength is not just muscle, but courage and heart. With every challenge, he felt closer to the family and their world. Outside the window, the stars shone quietly. Ethan whispered to himself, I'll keep going. For them. The day of the final challenge had arrived. Ethan woke up feeling nervous but excited. This time, the challenge was with Mira, the youngest sister, who was known for her gentle heart and amazing art. Mira led Ethan to a bright room filled with colors, lights, and strange tools he had never seen before. The walls were covered with paintings that seemed to move slowly, changing shapes and colors. "Today, I want you to create something with me," Mira said softly. "It does not have to be perfect. I want you to show who you really are." Ethan looked at the many brushes, paints, and glowing liquids. He wasn't sure where to start. "I'm not very good at art," he said honestly. Mira smiled kindly. "That does not matter. This is not about skill, but about honesty and heart." Ethan picked up a brush and dipped it in bright blue paint. Mira mixed colors in her hands, and soon they started working together. At first, Ethan painted simple shapes, stars, a small figure standing under a big sky. Mira added colors around his painting, making the sky glow and move like it was alive. They worked quietly, each stroke adding to the story. As they painted, Ethan told Mira about his home on Earth. The green forests, the blue oceans, and the night sky full of stars. Mira listened, her eyes shining with wonder. When they finished, their painting showed a small human figure standing on a hill, looking up at a sky full of swirling stars and glowing colors. It was simple but full of hope. Mira stepped back and smiled. "This is beautiful, Ethan. You have shown your true self, curious, brave, and hopeful." Ethan looked at the painting and felt a warmth inside. For the first time, he felt that his feelings, his story, could belong here, in this strange new world. Rillis and the other sisters came in, smiling at the painting. Lyra nodded, impressed. Solai smiled softly. Even Rillis looked proud. Mira placed a small necklace around Ethan's neck, a pendant shaped like a star, glowing softly. "This is for you," she said, "to remember that you are part of our family." Ethan touched the pendant, feeling grateful. "Thank you, Mira. I promise to keep trying, to be worthy of this family." That night, Ethan lay in bed, thinking about the journey so far. The challenges were not easy, but they showed him that love and family were not about where you came from, but about who you chose to be. Outside, the stars of Varela 4 twinkled gently. Ethan whispered, "I'm ready for whatever comes next." The wedding day was getting closer, but the joy inside the family was shadowed by danger outside. Rumors spread that some groups in the Galactic Council were unhappy about the marriage. They believed a human joining a Virelan family would weaken traditions, and they wanted to stop it. One evening, Ethan was studying with Lyra in her lab when suddenly the lights flickered and alarms beeped loudly. "Something is wrong," Lyra said, her eyes sharp. "This is not a normal power failure." Solai arrived quickly, her face serious. "I've heard reports of sabotage attempts nearby. Someone wants to harm the wedding." Ethan felt his heart race. But who? Why? Mira joined them, worry clear on her face. "Some don't want us to be united. They think we are breaking the rules." The sisters and Ethan gathered to plan. "We must protect the ceremony," Rillis said firmly. "And we must find who is behind this." Over the next days, Ethan worked with Lyra to monitor the lab and the house. They used sensors and scanners to detect any unusual activity. Solai trained the family and their guards, teaching Ethan basic self-defense moves. Mira created beautiful decoys, paintings and holograms to confuse any spies. One night, Ethan noticed strange movement near the main gate. He quickly alerted Solai, who and her guards caught a group trying to sneak in. The intruders were armed with small weapons designed to disrupt energy fields, enough to ruin the ceremony. Solai fought bravely, and Ethan helped by using quick thinking to trap the saboteurs in a force field. The attackers were captured, but it was clear that more threats could come. The family grew closer through the danger. Ethan learned how to trust his new sisters and how to stand strong when everything seemed against them. On the day before the wedding, Ethan looked at the stars and whispered, "We've survived the tests, the challenges, and now this. Nothing can stop us." Rillis held his hand. "We are stronger together. No matter what happens, this family will not break." The stars over Varelafor shone bright that night, as if they were watching the family's courage. Ethan knew the road ahead would be hard, but he was ready to face it, with love, strength, and his new family by his side. The day of the wedding arrived with a golden sun rising over Varelafor. The whole planet seemed to shine brighter, as if the stars themselves were celebrating. The palace was decorated with flowers that glowed softly in the light, and guests from many planets filled the grand hall. Ethan stood nervously, dressed in a traditional Virelan robe that felt strange but special. Around him, Rillis and her three sisters were beautiful and calm, each wearing a garment that showed their family's colors and history. The ceremony began with music unlike anything Ethan had heard before, soft melodies that seemed to come from the stars themselves. The crowd watched quietly as the ancient ritual started. A Virelan elder stepped forward and explained the meaning. To join this family, the elder said, is to honor love, loyalty, and the strength of many hearts. Today, Ethan will marry not just one sister, but four, uniting his soul with theirs in harmony. Ethan looked at Rillis and her sisters, feeling a deep connection. He remembered the challenges, the tests, and the dangers they had faced together. This was more than a wedding. It was a promise. One by one, Ethan spoke words of commitment to each sister. They responded with vows that blended their voices into one. The rings, 4 of them, were placed carefully on their fingers, shining with light. As the ceremony ended, the crowd cheered. News reporters from across the galaxy broadcast the event live. Some cheered with joy, others watched quietly, unsure of what this new family meant for the future. After the ceremony, Ethan and his wives walked together through the palace gardens. The sisters smiled at each other, and Ethan felt their love like a warm blanket. Suddenly, a young diplomat from another planet approached them. "Your union is historic," he said respectfully. "You show that the galaxy can change, that old rules can be rewritten with courage." Rillis smiled proudly. "We hope this is just the beginning." Ethan looked up at the stars and whispered, "Together, we can face anything." That night, in the quiet of their new home, the family sat together. Ethan felt a sense of peace he had never known before. The galaxy was wide and sometimes uncertain, but here, with the sisters and Rillis, he had found his place. The days after the wedding were filled with joy and new challenges. Ethan woke up every morning surrounded by Rillis and her sisters, his wives, his family. Life had changed completely, but he felt stronger than ever. The galaxy was watching. Some worlds celebrated the union, calling it a symbol of hope and unity between different species. Others whispered doubts and fears, but Ethan and his new family were ready to face whatever came next. Rillis held Ethan's hand as they stood on the balcony overlooking the city of Varelafor. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "Our family will help change the galaxy." Lyra joined them, her eyes bright. "We will prove that love and respect can break old rules." Soleil nodded. "And we will protect our family, no matter what." Mira smiled and added, "Together, we create a new future." Ethan looked at each of them, his wives, his partners, his sisters-in-law, and felt a deep gratitude. "I never imagined this when I first came here. But now, I know that family is about more than laws or traditions. It's about trust, love, and courage." The news spread quickly. Stories of Ethan and the 4 sisters became legends across planets. They inspired others to look beyond old boundaries and to believe in new possibilities. At the Galactic Council, some members softened their views. The strength of Ethan's family and their loyalty showed that change was possible. One day, a young diplomat approached Ethan during a gathering. "Your story gives hope to many. You show that humans and Virelans, and all beings, can unite peacefully." Ethan smiled. "It's not just me. It's all of us, our family." Years passed, and the family grew closer. Ethan learned Virelan customs, languages, and ways. The sisters learned about Earth too, fascinated by his stories. Together, they faced new adventures. exploring planets, solving problems, and standing up to those who tried to divide them. One quiet night, Ethan sat with Rillis under the stars. "Do you think we changed the galaxy?" he asked. Rillis smiled. "We did. Not alone, but as a family. And that's just the start." Ethan looked at the stars and felt hope. No matter what challenges awaited, he knew they would face them together. The future was bright, not because it was easy, but because love and family were strong. And so, on a small blue planet called Earth, a human had married not one, but 4 extraordinary Virellan sisters, and in doing so, helped begin a new era for the galaxy.